Employee experience and how it relates to customer experience is a hot topic, but an often overlooked aspect of EX is the workplace environment. Things like layout, colors, scent, etc. As more and more people work from home, the environment these employees work in can become an afterthought. At the risk of sounding too woo-woo, Claire Boscq set out to improve working environments, even if that environment is also your home, by fusing traditional Feng Shui, neuroscience, and modern business principles like Maslow's hierarchy of needs to form the BIZSHUI Method. This week on Next in Queue, we touch on how falling down allows you to move forward, how environment affects human behavior, practical and simple modifications you can make to your work environment, how to deal with a bedroom-based workspace, and why the position of your desk really matters. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Next in Queue, the podcast for contact center and customer experience professionals. Next in Queue is brought to you by Happy To, your service team's personal coach, giving them the process, resources, and insights to deliver the perfect customer experience over the phone. Learn more at happitu.com. Now, here's your host, Rob Dwyer.
Thanks for joining another episode of Next in Queue. As always, I'm Rob Dwyer, and today I am joined by Claire Boscq. Welcome, Claire. Thanks for joining. How are you today?
I'm very, very good. Thank you. A busy little bee today, but I'm so good and so excited to be with you.
Well, I appreciate it. And you're joining me, I think, at the perfect time because I have, for those people that watch this podcast regularly, you'll see some familiar things, but you'll also notice very much that I have moved. I have changed spaces. I have actually moved back into the office. And so I'm taking my home office into the office. I haven't spent a lot of time getting things set up just right. And I think maybe you can help me with that with today's topic.
Now, this is kind of really perfect timing, isn't it? I think there's nothing like actually being in a space. And I think, sometimes subconsciously if something feels right or if something doesn't. And if you're sitting somewhere or there's something not quite right, you're going to get up and move it, or you're going to change it, or you're going to turn it. And that is the key of what a lot of people, the majority of people, don't realize. It's our environment has an effect on us, our state of being, how we feel, how we think, how we behave. This around us, that, all that energy around us will affect how we feel.
Yeah. So you wrote a book all about this that is aimed at business professionals and correct me if I'm wrong, but in particular, people who are now working from home that maybe didn't in the past. And that book is called BIZSHUI.
Right. Yeah. So there's a bit of a story. So, like you, I've been in customer experience and I've been running my own business for 13 years. Doing mystery shopping. So the core of my service at the beginning was mystery shopping. So I'm a mystery shopper at heart. I've written a book about it, The Secret Diary of a Mystery Shopper. Pandemic March 2020 arrived, and I lost my 12 years of business in 3 days. And it was a really kind of wow. Wow. I'm a single mom. I've got 2 children. I had to, have a roof over their head. I had 12 years in my business, my baby, it's just, it was just incredible. And it hit me really hard. And it took me quite a few weeks to actually get back, move forward from that really state where you're just completely devastated and you don't know where you're going. And at that moment in time, I kind of, somebody poked me on the head. And somebody said, Claire, you're not doing, things aren't going right for you because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We all have a path in life. We all have a purpose. We'll come here. And when you're on the right path, things go right. People turn up. You feel good. It's like you're on holiday all the time because, it's like that real good flow. And things were not on the flow. It was slow, it was hard, it was like I was swimming upstream, it was really, really tough. And so since I was poked on that head by that lady, I decided to come out with something that I'd been doing in secret, really. And that's Feng Shui. So I've been a Feng Shui practitioner. So Feng Shui with an American accent, Feng Shui with a French accent. So I've been a practitioner for 10 years and I never really told anybody. I haven't, because I've gone, customer experience, so it's very corporate and, it's very, no. And suddenly you say, yeah, let's do some Feng Shui. And you're like, what? I think Claire's gone all woo-woo kind of things, and really, you know what? I just lost everything anyway. So I had nothing to lose that actually think if now isn't the time to actually help people who were used to be in an environment when it was an office, it was a team, it was things around them, and suddenly they're working from a kitchen table, from the side of a bed. They've got 2 or 3 or 4 other people working around them. If now isn't the time, well, I may as well pack up and, do something else, really. So I took, big courage and I started opening up and talking about Feng Shui and actually using the words and actually starting to be very woo-woo. But when you think about it, that is what it's all about. When you create an environment, if you walk through a restaurant and you walk in and the lights are lovely, it smells gorgeous, you want to eat all the food, the menu looks good, the waiter and waitresses, they've got super cool uniform, they're really friendly. Wow, you connect with all your senses and you're going to feel good. You're going to stay there. You're going to buy more. You're going to recommend your friend and family. And it's the same. Everybody needs to feel good to be able to be productive and creative and feel, well-being and all that kind of things. And so there was a piece missing when we talked about the customer experience, about that environment piece. And that's what I created BIZSHUI, because the environment piece, we were not talking about it, whether it was the customer journey, and we talk a lot about the customer experience and the customer journey, whether it was the employee journey. The environment will affect us as a person. So creating an environment for our employees to feel good in and be able to be more productive, creative, less stress, better well-being. They will sell better, they will talk better, they will be there with you, they won't be sick and all that kind of things. And for your customers, increase your customer loyalty because they feel good, they want to stay with you, they want to come back with you. So yes, I've gone completely I've embraced the woo. And I've created BIZSHUI, which is really, really fabulous.
Well, I want to dive into that a little bit and maybe talk about some practical applications. But you said something that I have heard before on this podcast that I want to talk about a little bit. And that was, you were at a point where you felt like you had nothing to lose, and that allowed you to pivot into something. Can you talk about, I don't know, I think there's some fear, but also some freedom with being in a place where you feel like the security that you once enjoyed is now gone, and how that allowed you to just change your mindset? Because it sounds like you weren't ready to do that until that moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was very much, I've been a single mom. I've had my business, which worked really well. But you've got those kind of things, you've got a mortgage and you've got the children and you've got, all those kind of things, which really kind of are part of it. You've got business to do something as well. And so I had responsibilities in one hand, which is really, when you think about it, it's that yin and yang. So I was always in that yang energy, always pushing, always doing more, always going, always, trying to look for the new things. And then suddenly there was nothing else. And I had to get back into that yin energy. I had to go into that moment where it's the calm, it's the dark, it's the time of reflection, it's the time where you could start opening up. When you're walking and you go and have a walk and then suddenly you've got this idea, or you're in the shower, and then because you're in the shower and you're doing nothing else than just having the shower, that's that aha moment, right? And sometimes we're so busy that we haven't got the space to let other things come in. And that's also it's a very interesting time where you're actually questioning everything that you're doing. You're questioning everything that you're doing. And my mystery shopping had done really, really well. I know myself, I wanted to move more into keynote speaking and moving into doing a lot more of that inspiration kind of on stage. So again, already my mind had shifted from the mystery shopping to that excitement to be on stages. I'd gone to the Philippines, I've gone to India. And so in a way, now with a reflection of it, it was a blessing in disguise, because it made me close the business. So I closed the business. It made me close it. I may have continued for another 2, perhaps 3 years, but eventually it was something I had to do. And so the pandemic, I think a lot of the time, a lot of the businesses had to rethink about what do they do. And that was kind of that moment where thinking, with the insight that I have now, it was a silver lining. It was, I've fallen down. What do I need to go to move forward now? And, where do I really want to go? What do I really want to do? How do I really want to serve people? And it's very, I think that's that reshuffling, isn't it? We talk about that big reshuffling our lives. So many people have done that, and that's why there's a massive issue with recruitment all over the world, because suddenly everybody's thinking, well, if they don't care about me, why should I care about them? I'm going to try to do something by myself. So for organizations now to retain talent, to recruit talent, it is really difficult. And so that employee experience is becoming a lot more, you have to be a lot more inspiring, engaging, and really kind of getting the people to be with you on that journey, because everybody has a purpose. They feel they want to leave something, and I think there's a big thing now. Our teenagers, our millennials, they don't want to be working all those hours that we used to work, but they will do and go the extra mile if they feel that they're part of they're doing something right. They'll look at the vision, they'll look at the mission of the organization. Does that align with me as a person? Is that really where I want to go? And that really kind of has made everybody be better at what they do. I hope, because you've had to rethink about everything, haven't you? How do you engage people? How do you inspire them? How do you deliver those services? How do you serve people? So,
Yeah, there has definitely been a big shift in the way people are approaching a lot of things. I know there will be some people that already are thinking, man, I'm not ready for this woo-woo. I don't buy into that. But you've said some things that I think we should all take note of, and that is we do these things already for
We do.
customers. So if you think about any retail location, there is so much thought put into the experience of a retail location, the lighting, the positioning, the way that you walk through the
Mm,
store, and how that guides you to certain things, and
mhm,
when you experience certain things, right? All of that stuff that's at the register, that's there for impulse buying, it's
mhm,
there for a reason, because someone's put a lot of thought into how the environment affects human behavior.
mhm,
And
mhm.
sometimes I think we forget that that applies to us not just in a retail environment, right? It applies to us in our work environment, our home environment, wherever the case may be. So,
Even going
um,
to a friend's, you can go to a friend's
yeah.
house and have a coffee, and you walk in there and you suddenly you go, have you done that before? So you'll sit,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have your coffee, and then do you want another one? And should we have an? No, I'm sorry, I've got to go. I really have got to go. And you think, I'm never coming back there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't know
So,
why, but it didn't feel right. You didn't feel
yeah.
safe. You didn't feel comfortable. It didn't give you that impression that, yeah, and that's what your body does. Our body is here to protect us. So all the time, our body is kind of, oh, there's a noise here. Oh, I'm seeing something on the side. So our bodies are always trying to protect us all day long. So when you're feeling somewhere, and then you can sit on that chair and just, feel good. Suddenly your whole body just feel good, and you see the difference straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about first, I think, some things that are maybe a little more high level, and then we can dive into maybe some specific applications. But let's talk about, you discuss in your book really 9 keys. Can we go through some of those and talk about exactly what they mean?
Sure. So again, it was always about using those elements or those principles and blending them with our personal state of being and the customer experience. So it was always about, that missing piece in the middle that I talked about. And so uh, when I've created BIZSHUI, those 9 steps, first look at the specific of the environment, and understanding, assessing, looking, doing a survey, you like a business, where am I at this moment in time, right? So you kind of you're assessing the environment and how it feels, and where you are this moment in time. And then the really the second step is very much about clutter. And I say that because clutter is, whether it's in your head, whether it's in your home, it's block, it's bad energy. So before you can do anything, you will never put beautiful fresh flowers into a dirty vase, would you?
No,
You wouldn't,
no.
right? So, you need to clean up, you need to clear up so you can actually start doing things the right way. You can start adding different things into your environment so it feels good. So, you got those very specific steps that you can start assessing, clearing up, and then you can start adding some of those feng shui, or the environment piece of it, the environment psychology, that you have, with very specific principles from the feng shui, the Chinese principles. So things like the yin and yang, balancing that energy. If it's too yang, people are going to be kind of going crazy and shouting at each other and arguing all the day long. If it's too yin, I mean, they're going to be like that. They're going to be procrastinating, playing on Facebook, and never doing any work, right? So you need to create that balance between the yin and yang, depending on which area you are in your home or in your business. And then you've got different things about, there's a principle which is the five natural, the 5 principle of nature. So that means that the Chinese knew that if they feel good, to enhance and create harmony, you have to have those 5 things. And that's nature. Instead of living outside, you've got to bring nature inside to create that harmony. And they all work within each other. So you have the water element. The water will feed the wood, feed the trees and the plants. The trees will feed the fire, right? When you have fire, it feeds the earth because it makes the ground. The earth would feed the metal. You get all those metals underneath the ground, and then the metal would feed the water element when it's saturates. You see that on cars, for example, when it's water. Why do you have water on cars when it's really cold outside? That's your metal and water element. So to have an environment that feels as if you were in nature, really creating that harmony, you always want some of those 5 elements within your spaces. Let's do it. Something very simple, like a pot plant. You could have a single pot plant for example, a metal pot. The metal pot could be red. So there you are. You've got your red element for fire. You've got your metal element. You've got your ground that you've got your pot in. The wood element, obviously, that's the plant. And then you're watering it. So straight away, you see how you can actually use those elements to really create a little bit more energy or a little less energy, using the different colors, the shape, the all that is very much part of how you creating those different energy throughout. So all the elements have got different characteristics.
Fascinating.
How are you feeling in your space at the moment, Rob?
This is a good question. So here's one of the things that I am challenged with. I am challenged with a space that has no window.
Right.
So,
okay.
What does someone do if their space doesn't have a window? How do you deal with that? Because obviously, I'm not going to buy a real potted plant that's not going to get any sunlight because it's just going to die.
It is. You also have a very kind of gray, watery color. Water, it's an emotional water, very emotional, the water. When you've got too much water around you, it could feel quite draining, quite low in energy. And if you haven't got any also natural daylight coming in, you're going to have to get a little bit of things going there. So because you're going to be drowning. You're going to be drowning in that water, right? It's like, oh. So there's a couple of things that you could do, which are very simple, really, in a way, is you could add, either you could have a wallpaper, we've got those wallpapers, like nature wallpaper with a big window there. So that's a really very simple way. You could even draw the window, in front of you, and then you could imagine, create like a nature plant around it, and you go window, because the window is about looking at opportunities, and really kind of having that vision. So if you haven't got any windows around you, create a window, or perception of a window. Or it could be something where, in front of you, if you've got on the wall in front of you, have something that is inspiring you. So you're aspiring and looking at it. Where is your door, Rob?
So the door is just to my right.
Okay, so that's fine. So one of the things that, we see very often is that actually, for more cosmetic side of it, it's that people put their desk right in front of the wall. So they're basically facing a wall all day long. And then you say, well, things aren't going right. It feels like I'm banging my head against a wall. Well, yes, you literally are banging your head. Right? And it's very, very, you look at those analysis, when you start thinking about it. Tell me, what are those 4 men behind you?
Well, those four men are the Beatles, and they are made of Lego, as is my little R2 back there. And I have some more Lego that I'll probably be bringing in, but I do notice that that is it's just plastic.
Right, it's plastic. They're also very grim on those pictures. I mean, there's better pictures of of the Beatles, much more inspiring than that. They look very more like, the full Daltons or something.
Well, I didn't choose the pictures, but I did put them together. They're actually just little tiny pixel pieces, and so you
Okay.
build the whole
Yeah, yeah,
picture.
yeah.
So,
Very cool. You need to
but
think
what you're
that
saying is
everything
they're not happy enough. I need something
they're
happier, is
they're
what I
not
hear.
happy enough. So you're already in the bowl, you're in a fish tank at the moment, which there's no window, and now you're putting four men behind you who looks like they're gonna kill somebody. No wonder you're feeling a little bit low at the moment, Rob.
But when I do see them, I think of wonderful music. So there's that.
Okay, so that's one of the things that you want to add on as well, especially when you've got an office which has no window. Think about the five senses, right? And a very simple way to connect on that emotional level is to add some of the five senses. Add some gorgeous smells. Do you have any gorgeous smells in your office?
Not yet.
So get yourself a diffuser, because also, I want like you to start getting some energy into it. So get a diffuser, and then it's a diffuser. You put a couple of uh, drop of something like tangerine or lemon or orange, something very zesty. That'll kind of bring a bit of that yang energy. And the diffusers I use is like you put water in, and it's kind of bubbly as well. So you've got that kind of movement of water kind of bubbling, and then it just spray the diffuser, and it's just lovely. And then suddenly there's nothing like it to walk into a shop and smell fresh French bread. I used to be at Disney World. I worked in Disney World when I was 20 years old and 21. And we had queues and queues of customers all day long in the French pavilion at Epcot, because they used to put a drop of French bread in the air conditioning. And people, right? As
Yeah.
simple as that. You put a couple of drops of French bread in the air conditioning and people will come. Same with sausages, right? If you're a supermarket, put
Yeah.
a drop of sausages or bacon, and then everybody will go to your counter. There'll be nothing left in your butcher.
The bacon will bring me, that's for sure.
You know what I mean? So maybe not too much bacon in the office, right?
Right.
But something a bit zesty will be really good. And then so five senses: what do you smell? What do you touch? So what's your desk feel like? Is it rough? Is it soft? Is it cold? Is it hot? So is there something that when you're on it, does it feel cold? Do you need perhaps put something so you've got your hands covered and it doesn't feel as cold as that? You know, what's that touchy feeling? Those touchy feelings really
Hmm.
important in thinking about that. And then what can you hear? So obviously we're doing a podcast at the moment, so you're not here and listening to anybody else. But I've got a friend of mine who's a Feng Shui practitioner, and he says music is Feng Shui for the air. Isn't it beautiful? You know,
Yeah, it
you
is.
you put that sound of music and suddenly you're transported somewhere else. You're back into dancing your wedding day music, or you're on that concert that you've seen something. You remember yourself straight away. The music is just so powerful. So add a bit of music around to actually help that kind of the connecting with the five senses as well. And of course, view. What do you see? Have you got enough light around you? Because light is fire. So at the moment you've got a lot of water going on, so you want to add a little bit of fire to your space as well. So perhaps extra lamps around could be giving you a little bit more of that yang energy into your space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm looking at some lamps to put back in the corner, some LED lamps to give a little
Hmm.
color
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that I'm not
absolutely.
drowning
And you're
anymore.
not drowning? Yeah, yeah, that's fine. That'll
Maybe
take you
maybe a
out.
little red back there, or I don't.
So actually, now you said your door is, did you say your door is on here? Okay, so another part of the Feng Shui is there's 9 areas of our life. So when you start, one of the principles is called the Bagua. So when we look at a space and the space of whether it's our home, our office, you have 9 areas of our life. And when you're walking through a space, it's always the mouth of the sheet, the mouth, of the energy comes in. Your door opens up and the energy comes in, right? So when you stand at the door, the top left-hand side corner, so the corner you were talking about just behind you, is your prosperity corner.
Hmm.
So what does it look like at the moment? It's an ugly man with a mustache is in your prosperity corner. Fair enough, is an expensive, is a very rich one. I
Sorry,
I'm
Ringo.
glad I'm glad it's not on the top right hand side of your office because that would be your love corner, and maybe we'll have problems then. Your wife may have a may have something to say.
Well, I've got some work to do on the other walls, it sounds like, definitely.
Bring a bit of nature in that would already suck up that water that you've got around you.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of the things that we're obviously talking about some practical things that I can do in my office, but a lot of people are still trying to figure out whether it's because they've moved, maybe they're going back into the office, maybe they're still at home, they're trying to figure out their home office. What are some things that you've noticed that are easy fixes? I mean, we've talked about the clutter, we've talked about the nature, but what
Yeah.
are some easy fixes for people that may not be in as dreary of an office that I'm in, but they're in their home somewhere, they've got their kind of workspace. What can they do to really just improve their own space?
So one of the hardest things to the challenges things that you have is when you actually have to have your desk or your workspace into your bedroom,
Hmm.
because your bedroom should really be just a space for sleeping and making love, and really kind of it's your boudoir. It's that space where you recharge your batteries, where you really should have just yin energy, so it should be very calm and very peaceful and restful. And so a lot of the time with the pandemic, a lot of people have had to put a desk in their bedroom, and that's kind of where you're starting to kind of have that mixed between the home and the work. There isn't any more a differentiation. So you're working all the time, you're going to bed and you're seeing your computer, it's flashing with a little light, and you've got your bills going on, or you've got all the stuff that you need to do tomorrow on one pile, and then you may have things under your bed because there's no other places to put them. So you're starting finding things under your bed, and suddenly you wonder why you don't sleep at night and why you're worrying all the time about things, and you stay awake because you're actually sleeping on your bills basically. And so this is really kind of really important. There's 2 things. You need to kind of create a real habit. If that's the space that and there's no other way that you have to have that space and use that space in your bedroom, is to really create habit as if you were going to work, right? So you get up in the morning, you have your shower, you brush your teeth, you get out of the bedroom, you go and make yourself a coffee, you prepare your bag, you go back into the office as if you were doing the office. If you can have, some kind of, what do you call it? Uh,
Partition.
Partitions, that's even better. But most of the time, if you haven't got a space, you've got you in there. It's really about making that differentiation. So obviously clutter is really a no-no. So you need to really kind of get a little filing cabinet. It could be, 2 or 3 packets of cereals boxed together. It doesn't have to be inexpensive things. Just be creative with your filing, but creating some spaces where you can have things where you know where they are. And so you're going into the office, you're opening your computer or you're turning it on, and you do your day, you're in and out of the space, and then at night you're closing it. You really have to close it. So you're closing your computer, you're tidying up your things, you're putting a cover over it, you're unplugging everything. Because again, in your bedroom, that the radiation, so the EMF, electronic magnetic fields, this is what's worst, because you've got all the plugs going, the Wi-Fi's going, the laptop's going, the television's going, everything's going. So it's really hard to have all that negative energy in your bedroom. So close everything, unplug everything that you can, and then get out of the bedroom. Go and either have a walk or have a shower, or really kind of make it as a habit to create those 2 spaces. And actually, so when you come back into the bedroom as the bedroom time, it's the bedroom time. And then the space is hidden, you don't have to look at all that together. And it's starting making that difference between work and home. And those are probably the hardest bit to do when you're working from home in a bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's assume that I don't have to work in my bedroom. I think those are wonderful tips. And I know that there are people out there who struggle with that because they either live in a small space or, you know, they've got kids and they need to be, away from there when they work, or whatever the case may be, that people are working in their bedroom. But let's say that I don't have necessarily, I'm not working in a bedroom, but I might be using some other area of my home that isn't necessarily a dedicated office, whether that's the dining room table or the coffee table in the living room. What other tips do you have? So aside from like making this go away or disappear, and that habit of separating the two, what else can people do in their home workspace to
Yes.
make it more comfortable?
Yes, so something that is very important, and again, probably most of us do it subconsciously, is being positioned in the right position. And this is right in terms of your bed, it's right in terms of your desk position, it's right into your sofa. So have you ever seen a CEO of a Fortune 500 with his face against the wall? You
Not
haven't,
very
right?
often, no.
No. So the CEO of the Fortune 500 is in his big office. He's got the wall in the back who protects him, and he can see anybody who's coming in. Oi, you, right? And that's what's happening. It's a lot of the time we either put the desk against the wall for practicality, or we work from a corner of the kitchen, but we have our back against the door. And because your body is here to protect you, every 2 seconds, you don't know what's going on behind you. So your body is like, it's in alert all the time, because somebody could come behind you and stab you, right? And that's kind of not the kind of things you want. Even if it's in your home, you'd never know. And you get that, I didn't see you there. You're right, you've done that before, haven't you? So put yourself in the commanding position. Put yourself in a space where there is no way that somebody could come behind you to stab you. And you can see people coming through the door, and actually you don't have to move. Okay, I know you were going to ask me a question now. It's not always possible. I know you were going to say that, weren't you? Right. Okay, so there's an extra tip for it's not always possible. My tip is put a mirror in front of you.
Okay.
Right? So if you got your computer here, that kind of level, put a mirror on top or a little bit on the side, as if you're looking in the mirror when you're in the car, right? You can't turn around and, in the car looking every 5 minutes. So, and this is really good as well when you're in an office space, right? And you've got those big offices, more corporate spaces, and you can't move your desk, to see what people comes in. So having on the side a little mirror, then you can see what's going on behind you. And your
Yeah, I
body,
like that.
your body straight away, it doesn't have to worry.
So I have a tip, and my
Oh.
tip is for those people that are maybe working in an office space. If you're worried about someone stabbing you in the back, you might want to look for a new job. Maybe.
That's a good tip. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the corporate culture might be part of your problem, not
Yeah.
just your
Just
physical
the environment.
surroundings, and that could be part of that energy as well. Let's talk a little bit more about, because I think, right, we're talking about how we feel and how we perform, but in the book, you talk about how this impacts business performance and how we interact with customers. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because this is not just woo woo for the sake of being woo woo, right?
Well, I try to add a little bit of like some scientific bits out of it, just to give a bit of meat into it. You know that 95% of consumers, people buy by instinct. They will buy because they connect with that thing straight away. You talked about, all the sweets, at the outside by the checkout. Oh, suddenly you just see that sugar and you're like, oh, you're palpitating and you just want that bar of chocolate, right? They're terrible because you
No.
do it. I know it, and every time I get caught by it, right?
You know it's coming.
It's coming, right? And it's the same with shoes. As soon as you put a sell shoes sign on, there you go, off I go. No, my yin energy and my yang energy just go totally kind of bunkers, and then I can't think anymore. It's my emotional things, right? And that's where things are when you start really connecting with your customers on that emotional level. And the much easiest way to do it, it's that five senses, because those five senses, and that's been scientifically researched around the world, the five senses connect that emotional level straight away. They're the drivers, whether it's good or whether it's not. It's going to release you the either happy hormones, your endorphin, and the dopamine, and you feel good, so you want some more. It's something smells nice, you want to buy that bread, right? If it doesn't smell nice, oh, you're going to walk away, right? Those fish and chips shops, and it just smells of dirty oil, you just walk away from it. I'm not going in there. And that's really, so your connection affects your behavior. We know that. It's all about how we behave. And so when your yin energy take over, the yin, it's all about the subconscious, whereas the yang energy is all the conscious mind. So if you take too much time and start thinking about it, then you're buggered, aren't you? But whether it's a website or whether it's in person, you go into a website and you're looking, suddenly the first image grabs you. You look at it and it's just like, wow. And there's some colors or music comes on and you're like, ooh. and your attention goes on it. It's really cool to look at analysis, and we do a lot of analysis with the eyes and where the eyes go, when you're putting the glasses, and those are really cool to do when you're creating a website. But the thing is, it's the same thing. What shape do you use? What color do you use? What image do you use? And all those things, it's that branding. It's the Feng Shui branding and the marketing to it. It's your promise to your customers. So when you start promising something and you're consistent throughout your brand, the customer know what is expecting, and that makes everything so much easier afterwards for the employees to deliver, because
Mhm.
they're just following that. They're in the same pattern. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, it also seems to me that the emotional state of employees that are dealing with your customers has an impact that we don't always think about. And whether we're encouraging, if they work from home, ways for them to improve their environment at home, or they work in a corporate space, an office space, and what environment that is, has an impact on how they interact with our customers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you feel good in yourself, you're going to give great service. You're going to work as a team. You're going to want to come. You're going to really kind of, be here and love what you're doing and where you are. And I think that's why the employee experience is so crucial. And looking at the whole cycle of that employee experience, that you really kind of bringing more care into that, and really kind of making the people feel that you care for them. And there was a figure that was pre-pandemic, so it'd be really interesting to know out now, and I'm thinking they could be even higher now, but 8 out of 10 people in the US said that they're working for an organization they don't think that care for them.
Mm.
8 out of 10 people don't think that the organization that they work for care for them. I mean, how terrible is that? That you're going to work every morning thinking that no one cares about you. Why am I doing that?
Yeah, and I think that speaks to exactly what you mentioned earlier when people are just saying, you know what, I might go just, why am I doing this when I can, try and work for myself?
Mm,
And certainly, I think the companies that really take care of their employees saw far less impact as far as turnover goes than those that uh, treated their employees like they were cogs in a machine, for sure.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And if anything has brought, and I hope that we are not going back that way, because we have evolved into a higher consciousness now, and I think the woo is almost, they almost want it, because this doesn't work, so what is going to work? What is the alternative where we can really kind of show that we care? So we talk a lot about well-being at the moment, um, but yes, it's great to talk about well-being, but Fruity Friday isn't well-being.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
now
it is
you're
very much it's culture, right? What it comes down to is having that culture that actually does foster a safe environment, a comfortable environment, an environment that people want to be in.
totally, totally. And the more you breed it, the more people will want to be here. They'll bring their friend and family to work in that environment, because they all feel, that you actually care for them. And it's not difficult, just knowing somebody's name and asking them how their cat is. It's not difficult. Saying thank you at the end of a hard shift or at the end of a normal shift. It's not difficult.
Hmm.
And that's kind of, sometimes you kind of forget the basis. Then we talk about customer service and saying thank you and goodbye and have a great day to your customers. But what about your employees? you
Yeah.
know, good job, everybody. Well done, and kind of, really kind of showing them that you care, that they're all part of that journey with you.
I love that. Well, Claire, if someone wanted to check out either this book or you are a rather prolific author, you've got some other books as well. What's the best way for them to learn more about what you've got to offer?
So I guess the website, claireboscq.com, so BOSCQ, is a good point. And then I'm on social media pretty much everywhere. I think that's where you
Okay.
find me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll make sure that we put your website in the liner notes so people can go to claireboscq.com. And certainly LinkedIn, will put your LinkedIn profile in there as well, because that is how
Fabulous.
you and I connected. Claire, thank you so much. I know I've got a lot of work to do in my space here,
I
but
want to
you've
see
given me some
photos.
great tips. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
a photos before and a photos after.
All right. I like it. I'll see what I can do. Give me a few weeks though. It's gonna take a minute. Claire, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks very much, Rob.
Next in Queue is brought to you by Happy Tube and is produced by me, Rob the Wire. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe in iTunes or your favorite podcast app, and feel free to give it a rating, but more importantly, please tell just one person about this podcast. Word of mouth is the best way for people to discover new content. As always, thanks for listening.